Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. We are very pleased to bring to you our most repeat guest. She's here now for her fourth time on this podcast. We were just chatting before saying her very first episode of this podcast, episode 16, was perhaps her very first podcast she's ever done. You probably have heard her name around and about a hell of a lot over the last month or so. So she really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. She's probably the most accomplished Australian grappler around. I think she is the dual ADCC champion, under 55 and Absolute. We also have with us another repeat guest who is a big part of her success and a man behind the scenes. He was also on one of our previous episodes back in 2022, so take a listen to that. Episode 105, we have Jake O'Driscoll and Adele Fornarino. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us back on.
I was going to, after that beautiful introduction for Adele, I was just going to say, yeah, and Jake.
Yeah, basically. I'm used to it, don't worry. I'm used to it. I'm pretty sure she brought me in America just to carry her bags, but it's all good.
Yeah, but the big shoulders got to do something.
Yeah, that's what it is,
right? Got to do something.
So tell us about how you guys met, because Adele, you were originally in Melbourne and then you moved over to Perth 2021. Is that what happened? Is that when you met up with Jake?
It sounds right. It's
tell us how that.
The very start of COVID is when I moved to
2020,
to
I think.
2020. Yeah.
2020. Yeah.
Somewhere around that mark. Yeah.
And tell us about that, like, because you guys were still training over there. People in the eastern states, or certainly in Melbourne, we were locked down for a big part of 2020 and 2021, and you guys had the luxury, I suppose, of staying open, at least internally, to be able to keep training and stuff. And it seemed like that was around the time you really started to get much more into the no-gi, Adele. You focused a lot more on the heel hooks and the wrestling.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, so I moved to Perth originally because my partner Nev, she studies dentistry. She was studying in Perth, so moved over to get her degree done, and I was kind of came with her to support her and be there with her. But kind of COVID made it a perfect time because everything was very shut down in Melbourne. There was not much training going on. It was difficult to travel out of the state or out of the country in general to get any competitions going. So Perth was more open. Perth, training was much easier there. So when I kind of moved over, shifted into the Perth grappling scene, and I think it was only a few weekends went by, and then Jake actually reached out and said, hey, want to come by and train with us? I have a brown belt that would love to. I have another small female that would love to train with you. And I'm like, absolutely, would love to pop across. And that's how we actually connected in the first place. It wasn't even for me and Jake to connect. He was actually getting me into his space, into his gym to help out one of his students. But we just kind of kicked it off. The training was really good there, and I think we both were in the same kind of mindset towards training, same kind of mindset towards like future aspirations. So it made sense to kind of keep training together.
And Jake, what can you tell us about that time with Adele through that time?
Yeah, spot on. She come over, and I didn't even know she was coming over, but I'd known her for a while. She obviously at blue belt, she was already dominating and being amazing, and I've been on the circuit for a while, so bump into each other, and nothing too crazy, just hellos and good lucks and stuff. But then I saw like one of the local gyms posting that she was coaching, and I thought she might have been here for like a seminar or something. And then I realized she was actually here, so I reached out, and she come down, and then she started to come down a lot more regularly. We connected just on where she wanted to be, and I already had this kind of mindset of what I wanted to do with athletes and where I wanted them to go, but I hadn't had anyone at that time reach the level of success that I knew that we could do with Adele and some of the others. And then obviously met her partner as well, and Nev's amazing, and we'd hang out a lot. We'd spend a lot of time together outside the gym. The girls are great with my daughter. They spend a lot of time at my house. yeah, it was good. And now, now I can't get rid of her. So I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but it's worked out well.
How did those initial sort of catch ups go, Jake, with Adele? Where so Adele sort of went over to as a training partner or somebody to roll with one of your guys, and then one of your girls, and then I mean you've obviously known Adele. We've all known of Adele for a long time. What was it that you kind of put your finger on and went, hey, like this is where I can help Adele win ADCC?
I think it's, and I've spoken about this a few times. It was never her talent. She was always talented. She came across, she was talented. I'd never take credit for that. She came across, she was a brown belt. She'd already won a lot of stuff before she met me. But I honestly think the biggest thing was her trust in me and what I could do for her, and vice versa. Because I've met a lot of talented athletes,
Yeah,
and they come and go. You know what I mean? But she really trusted that what I had in mind on how to get to where she wanted to go would work. And we talk about this like it looks like overnight success for her in terms of ADCC, but we were literally prepping in 2020. We had
yeah.
conversations like we can do this. And the first step was to get there, which we did. Um, and then she just wanted to be there. She got that ticked off, and then as soon as that ADCC was over, we're like, no, we can win the next one. So I think that was the biggest thing. It's not really a skill thing, or it's not really an environment thing. It's not really like it was she trusted me and I trusted her, and we had that bond, and it's gone ever since. And I think that's why you see, us, how we are together. And, I obviously banter with her a lot, and her the same, because like we know when it's work time, we work, and we know when it's play time, and then we play. Like we have a good relationship, and I really, as much as I give her shit, I really cherish it. So.
And so you were in Perth when you went previous ADCC, Adele, 2022,
Yes.
and then you moved back to Melbourne. Is that right?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, so that's true. So the first ADCC trials I won in 2022, I was in Perth, did my training camp in Perth, or majority of I think most of my training camp for definitely the trials. And I think a majority of my training camp as well for actual ADCC. I think I spent some time in Melbourne as well. But then after that, 2 years kind of go by, and Nev finishes her degree. So she finishes her dentistry degree. And that's why we ended up moving to Perth in the first place, was for the dentistry degree. So we ended up moving back to Melbourne, just to be closer to family. The jiu-jitsu scene is quite good in Melbourne as well, so lots of training partners. But the main thing was to be back around family for us. Like we're born and bred in Melbourne, so we moved back to Melbourne just after the degree was done.
And how did then you continue with your training with Jake, like given that he was still over in Perth?
Yeah, so a lot of that is just through good communication. So although we can't be at every training session, it's either we talk at the very start of the week to plan out the training that's going to happen that week. So we're very specific about what goes on the mats, what each session is going to, like the purpose of each session, the focus of each session. Throughout the week, we communicate quite well with each other about what's going on, about, if there's what energy levels are looking like or what my body's feeling like. So we midway through the week can make alterations if we need to, especially when we're deep in camp, where we communicate very well in that way. But also just, classically putting a phone by the edge of the mat and getting some footage that way, or however we can kind of show what's going on, then we'll do that. But even sometimes I'll still go to Perth and get a little bit of time in so he can actually see what's going on or run specific training sessions for me in person.
So then looking at that, Jake, you're like with a long distance training partner or training student. What sorts of timelines are you putting on this? Is this month to month? Is this like a 6-month plan? Do you have your end goal and then like backwards chain it so you break it down month by month? How does that look from your end, mate?
It depends on the athlete, man. So if there's only a couple of athletes that I work with, like Adele, Adele is obviously um, top of the food chain. She gets all my attention or most of it. She's tier one, but she gives that back, so that's why she gets it. If she
Yeah.
wasn't doing that, then I wouldn't do it either. So with her, it's literally daily. We talk every day. With the other athletes, I might talk to them a couple of times a week. They might work in 6-week blocks. They might work in 12-week blocks. But Adele's and I have been pretty full on for about 18 months now. And then before that, because she was in Perth, it was a little bit different. And like we also just both had to navigate our own careers at first. Like She hadn't been at Atos yet. She was obviously with Dominance. She was training at Absolute and all these little things, and we had to navigate that. And then same with me, I'm still pretty active competing. So I had to navigate my own career as well. So it just built over time. You know, it was never like from day one, you're going to do exactly what I say for as long as I say. We just built that trust over time. And now it's like that. You know, every comp we've done in the last, 12 months or so, I've had some kind of hand in, or helping with. And, we still discuss that too. I know Adele was really big into wanting to do the gi season, and I'm not a gi person at all, but I 100% support her. And that could be hands on or it could be hands off. I don't know. That'll be up to her. Um, and those are the kind of communication things we have. I don't have an ego towards Adele. I don't need to
Yeah.
be uh, in control of her. I don't want to be in control of her.
Yeah.
She makes her own decisions, and then I help where I can. And that's why I think our relationship works really well. She's got amazing coaches around her. Like, Lachlan Giles in the room every day is, I would love that. So why shouldn't she use that just because I'm not there? I think it
Yeah.
works really well in that regard. But yeah, now it's every day just because of the level she's at
Yeah.
and the dedication that she needs. And that could be a 5-minute conversation. It could be a couple of hours. I might even just talk to her family. It might not even be her. I might be talking
Yeah.
to her parents, or I might be talking to Nev. Like it doesn't always have to be her. But I'm involved somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
cool. That's cool.
yeah, Adele, you've been like pretty involved in the Australian Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scene since you were, a junior and a juvenile. So you've been, I think that's something that really, obviously full credit to you entirely, but I think for all of us in Australia, we should, I guess, be quite proud of your achievements that you've come through, the Australian scene. I can't really think of anybody that's done that. I know that you did train at Atos, in the last year and the year before a little bit, but yeah, I think you're probably one of the only people I can think of who's come through the scene, really from being a little kid all the way through, and now you've reached, like, as Jake says, like the top of the food chain. What are your thoughts about the future of Australian Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like
I
how
think
that
that
stands for you?
Australian Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is always continuing to evolve, always continuing to improve, especially now that we're in kind of the generation of complete access to information. You can be in Australia but still gain access from these high level jiu-jitsu athletes that are putting out instructionals, or they're doing technical breakdowns or whatever it can be, and you're able to watch all the matches and follow these guys. So we have so much ability to study from the best, and so much ability to gain this information from the best that back in the day you couldn't do unless you were actually physically on the mats with them. So that's definitely working within our favor, but also just the depth in general. Like now we're getting a few generations deep in Australia, whereas 15 years ago it was maybe 2 generations deep. There wasn't that depth that we have today. So it's continuing to grow, it's continuing to strengthen, and I think that Australia is very good at finding our little niche and working really hard in our little niche. So that was leg locks for a long period of time. Australians were known for having really good leg locks, and we're kind of continuing to develop and continuing to progress. So we're not getting left behind in those ways, which is really cool to see. But I think Australia is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like we could see it at the most recent international competitions like ADCC, like CJI, where the Australians had phenomenal performances. So I don't think that being from Australia is a barrier anymore or a hindrance anymore. I think it's just part of our journey to our success.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think seeing the development of people coming through from Australia, whether it's on the competitor scene or the coaching scene, like you can see that depth really now developing, right? Like it's so much broader than what it used to be. It was probably like more like the tip of the spear, and then now it's like, that wide part of the spear, whatever that's called, but I'm sure it's called something. So this is sort of probably a question for both of you, Jake and Adele, and how you put together, because you're both coaches and you're both athletes, right? So how you put together a working relationship. So where, Jake, how are you as a 136 kilo man who's 6'4" and just a giant? how are you putting together a program for like a 55 kilo female? And how do you see these games? Like we talk about like the game that a big person plays or a smaller person plays and how these sorts of things develop. So how do you put that together for Adele? And then Adele, how do you kind of see what Jake's doing and then go, okay, like I understand what he's talking about. How does that work for both of you?
Yeah, so I don't to be fair, like Adele is one of the most technical grapplers on the planet, regardless of weight. So I don't really look at her game and pigeonhole it
Yeah.
into a division. I look at jiu-jitsu as a whole. So yeah, okay, I might have positions that I'm using a lot more strength than she would, but I talk about this a little bit. She's got breaking power. Like she can actually hurt you. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big difference that a lot of females don't have and they don't feel. So I can't train her like a normal female because she has something
Yeah.
different. You know, it's like having a boxer with that one punch knockout power. It's very different. So they only have to land that shot once, you know, and we talk a lot about making connection and just getting to her spot because when she gets there, she's going to put so much pressure on. It's dangerous, you know. So
Yeah.
I study a lot and I study like between 1 to 4 hours a day. And that's not a joke. Like I actually do that. And I actually watch a lot of footage. I read books. I watch everything that I can. I look at her as a person. I study her mannerisms. I can tell from her Instagram stories how she's feeling. I can tell from, you know, how I talk to her on the phone. Like, and it sounds silly and people can laugh and they can whatever, but we know. And we also have the accolades to say we know. So, you know, like there's a lot to it, you know. And then again, it goes back to that trust thing. There's a few things like the Choi bar is a perfect example. I didn't teach Adele the Choi bar. She knew how to Choi bar. She's had amazing arm bars since she was a kid. But a couple of months ago, I asked her, does she Choi bar? And she said, not really. And then I was like, cool, we need to start doing this because of this, this, and this. So she only started doing that 3 months ago. Now, again,
Yeah.
I didn't teach it to her. She knew it.
Yeah.
But I thought this is a hole that she could exploit. No one's seen her do it. It's very, very adaptive to her division. And once she gets on the arm, she can break it. And then you saw
Yeah.
the results at ADCC. So it's like, it's not for me changing her game. She was already good. It's adding to it and adding layers to it so that she can funnel everything back to where she was already good. You know what I mean? So like everyone knows about her close guard. It's the best in the world. Well, her biggest issue is getting people there because they avoid it. So how can I
Yeah.
add A, B, and C so that when they defend A, B, and C, they end up in close guard, and we're already back
Yeah.
to where we want to be. You know what I mean? So, um, it is a lot. It's a lot of work. Like I said, it is a lot. I don't muck around with it, but Adele doesn't either. You know what I mean? If I tell her,
Yeah.
hey, this is what we're doing and we're working on this, I know she's doing it. And she might ask why in terms of like, so for her own understanding, but never like why I don't have to do that or I want to do that
Yeah.
because it might not make sense at the time, but she knows everything I do has substance to it and there'll be a reason for it down the line. Like she might come back to me in 3 months and be like, that's why I was doing that. And I'll be like, that's why you were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that in what I do, and it's called trust the process, right? And it's the same thing. Like trust the process. This
Yeah.
will make sense at some stage.
Yeah, it's one thing we do like a lot. Like Dell and I have a lot of cues that we speak to each other and the way we talk before matches and stuff like that. And I literally just tell her all the time, trust me. And she knows when I say that, like I'm dead serious. Like
Yeah.
I'm not bantering, I'm not playing. When I'm like, trust me, she knows, okay, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Adele, what's your response to that?
Yeah, like I think trust is a big part of uh how we've been able to get to where we're at. Like when he suggests that we're specifically working on something in the training room, I don't try and fight it, I don't try and argue it. I just kind of trust the process because I know that there's bigger things at play. Whether that's doing things that I don't necessarily enjoy doing or adding things to my game that I don't see as, needing to like having urgency to work on it in that particular moment. I just kind of trust the
Yeah.
process because I know that research has gone behind it. So I know that it's not just I woke up this morning and that's just what he's feeling and he saw one video on Instagram and that's kind of what he noticed. Like I know that it's not coming from a place of like laziness. I know it's not coming from a place of like just kind of guessing. It's not guesswork. It's very calculated. It's very researched. So I know that so I do have that trust because I know that there is substance behind what he's asking me to do. I also know that he's not trying to make me another version of him. He's not trying to make
Yeah.
me a smaller Jake. He's not trying to make me try and play his game. He's very much he understands that I have my particular game. He knows the nuances of my game, and it's not about him trying to teach me specific techniques. Like sometimes there are specific things that we do need to work on, and there are technical questions in that way, and definitely we bounce things back and forth all the time in that way. But he's not trying to just make me a smaller Jake. He's trying to make me a better Adele.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know you're probably sick already of talking about ADCC, like the event and whatever,
Never.
but I guess we have to talk about that. You know, that's probably what the listeners want to hear about. Like, you know, you are the first that we were actually the other week in class trying to think if there was another person who's won double, you know, ADCC division and absolute, and that we've actually trained with. And I can't think of too many people that have done it in the same year. Was it always kind of on your agenda to do the absolute, or like what was your thought process on the day?
So when the absolute got announced, I was instantly excited about it because the female absolute wasn't something that always existed. It just got reintroduced. There was a female absolute something in like 2026, I believe, or 2006, sorry.
Yeah.
So quite some time ago, but there hasn't been a female absolute since then. So as soon as it got announced, I was excited. You know, I messaged the organizers telling those guys that I was excited to possibly be a part of it. Didn't really think much about it because I was too fixated on the 55 division, and that was also something that was really important. We didn't want to get distracted. Like that was not why we were there. We were there to win the 55 division. Like we were there to do the work that needed to be done to win the division that I was in, and then the absolute was kind of a bonus. But when I kind of pulled up after my finals of the 55, you know, Mo was sitting on the edge of the mat with his clipboard, like asking me straight away. I was literally walking off the mat, and he was like, "I need to know now. Are you doing the absolute?" And I kind of like I looked at Jake and Andre was there. I looked at Jake and Andre, and Jake's kind of looked at me, and he's like, "Well, like why not?" kind of thing. And I think that like Jake, as soon as I saw that he was backing me, like he had confidence in me, you know, that was that feedback loop where I kind of was like, okay, yeah, we can do this. We got no reason not to do this. And I kind of looked at myself. I'm like, look, I'm not injured. There's no good reason for me to be saying no. And in previous kind of interviews before ADCC, I kind of harped on the idea of you like champions are won in your division. Champions are won in your weighted division. Legends are created in the absolute division. So you take people like Lockie Giles as an example, and his run through ADCC, and that made him a legend. You know, it didn't just make him a good competitor; it made him a legend of the sport, and that's what we've always been chasing. So we just kind of went for it, and I think we had tools in the toolbox. We had put in the work. We had a really good training camp that, even though it was specific to the 55 division, all of the stuff that we were working on was more than applicable to everybody else as well. So we just like we backed the system.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I know, Jake, you're really big on athlete welfare and the way that athletes get treated. How did you find it? It's your second time now at ADCC. How was it? How was it backstage? Like, what's the setup? Give us a look behind the curtain of that for a coach and for a competitor.
Yeah, I didn't actually go with Adele to the first one. We weren't really in a financial position to do that. And I obviously got my daughter and my gym at home, so unfortunately we weren't. But obviously supporting her from back home. So this was my first ever ADCC, to be fair. I like, it was amazing. You know, it was good. I love being backstage. I was like pretty zoned in though. Like I was pretty focused on just Adele. I didn't really do anything else. Um, I know Adele has a really good relationship with Mo and ADCC, so she always gets treated like pretty well. I know there are some complaints and things like that, but from my side of things, she's always been looked after, so I've got nothing to complain about. And Adele knows like I'm pretty upfront if I don't feel like someone's treating her the right way or they're, you know, and whatnot. And sometimes she agrees with me and sometimes she doesn't. Regardless, I'm going to support her. But no, ADCC was good, man. The atmosphere was great. The crowd was great. You know, we were looked after. I thought the matches were really good. It was fun. I had no complaints.
Yeah, that's cool. Adele, how was it for you?
Maybe your headphones are playing up. Did you catch it?
Adele's trying to figure her headphones out. Like, there's things that she can do and things she can't, and fucking sorting headphones out one of them, all right?
Oh, no, I can't hear you now. Oh, wait, now she's
That's all
dropped
right.
out.
She,
Oh,
That's okay.
she wins all this money at ADCC and can't even buy headphones.
That work. No.
hang
Useless.
on. Ask them to close all the apps and tabs and refresh. Maybe she needs to refresh.
So she can hear us.
She can hear us, I think, but we can't hear you. Uh,
That's probably not a bad
This is
thing.
exactly what Jake wanted. So for
Well,
he
everyone
wanted a
listening,
podcast
this
without
is
you, Adele.
exactly what
So
Jake wanted.
he's muted you, see? That's the power of the coach.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now we can.
Yeah, that's it,
Oh,
mate.
yeah, brilliant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Black
Unfortunately.
belt on the mats, but white belt when it comes to technology. Nightmare. My
So how was
gosh.
it backstage for you, Adele?
Oh, like the event was very well put together, quite organized, and the ADCC staff did an amazing job.
No, it's dropped
Right.
out again.
Now we've lost you. Oh,
You're gone again.
you're on mute, I think, Adele. We can't hear you.
That's right. This is so this is where Theo can earn his money, right? He can edit this and cut it all out and it'll just come together perfectly.
Well, we could probably cut all her parts out if we really wanted to.
No, I still can't hear you.
Still can't hear me?
Oh, now I
Nah, we
can.
can
Now I
now.
can. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
now
now
you
we
can
can.
hear me.
Yeah.
All right, we bailed out on
This
the
is
microphone.
good. This just
on the
adds
headphones
to the authenticity of this. It's all good.
So what I was saying was that the ADCC staff did an incredible job at looking after us. We had access to food, we had access to water and drinks. We had a like matted space. We had access to massage therapists while we were there as well. So we were very well looked after. The Mo did an incredible job at making sure the athletes had what they wanted to be able to perform, to the extent of during the weigh-ins he even gave us access to like IV drips and things like that to kind of make sure that by the time the actual event swung around that we were ready to go, that our bodies were feeling good.
Do
That's
you think
awesome.
there was much difference between 22 and this year in the way that you were treated?
To be honest, from an athlete's perspective, like not too much. Besides, obviously there was a back and forth about the financial situation of the athletes and helping us in that way, and evening the female prize money and things like that, which was an amazing thing. Backstage, I feel like it was fairly similar. Like even 2 years ago, we had access to massage therapists and IV drips and food and water and all that kind of stuff. So from an athlete's perspective, we've always been pretty well looked after. There were some things about like hotel rooms this time that were improved. Where a couple of years ago we were sharing rooms, but this year we were given our own hotel room, so that was quite nice. Every athlete was kind of given their own space to prepare and sleep and all that kind of stuff. So that made a big difference. I think the main thing is year on year, the athletes will give feedback, and part of ADCC's kind of role is to listen to that feedback and act on that feedback. And I think they did quite a good job at doing that.
Yeah, that's good to know, isn't it? Like for every time that you compete in an event like that, you obviously just want it to be better the next time, better the next time. And if they're listening to the feedback and trying to do that, it's fantastic.
I think they're doing a great job. I think the athletes are very well looked after, and I think that there's only room for it to grow in that way. There's us physically getting looked after, and then there's also us financially getting looked after. And I think that that's then the next direction that it's going to start to move in. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah. So where do you stand in relation to CJI, and if that was being held at the same time as ADCC, would you look to retain your title at ADCC, or what are your thoughts?
I think that what CJI is doing is incredible. I think the money behind it is incredible. At the end of the day, $1 million is $1 million. I don't think that anybody is silly enough to be like loyalty, yes, but $1 million is $1 million. And I think that Mo understands that as well. I don't think that he is in the position to be upset. I don't think he is actually personally upset with a lot of the athletes for switching, because he understands that this kind of money is life changing for these guys. And especially with the USD to AUD right now, $1 million is looking pretty nice. So I just hope that they're not at the same time. I hope that both can coexist.
Yeah.
I think in an ideal world, that's kind of how it should look, you know, like you're having the best athletes in two different competitions. And whether it's 3 months apart or 6 weeks apart or whatever it might be, I think seeing the CGI and then the ADCC at different times, I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, in an ideal world, both can coexist and they can come back every year, every second year, whatever they decide. But you know, he's hoping that CGI comes back stronger and gets more events and gets female divisions and all that kind of stuff. Because it was really cool to see the males win millions of dollars. It would be really cool to see females win millions of dollars because nobody's done it before. And you know, CGI would be the first to offer $1 million prize pool for females.
Yeah. And what's next for you, Adele? Obviously, you've got your seminar tour coming up around Australia in the coming weeks.
Yep.
Have you got any plans after that?
So big seminar tour, you know, we're kind of hitting some of the major spots around Australia. We're hitting Melbourne. Where else are we hitting? We're hitting Sydney, Brisbane through the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, all of that. And we even snuck Perth in there as well because we originally were going to do Perth later on, but then we put out the notice about the Australia tour, and so many people from Perth were messaging offended that we didn't squeeze them in sooner, so we made sure we did that.
Not me.
Jake's now sad because he's gonna have to follow me around and he's gonna have to spend so much time with me on the jiu-jitsu match watching me teach his techniques.
Story of my life.
You're doing it wrong. That's not what we covered.
Story of my life.
He's gonna be booing me the whole time. He did tell me before ADCC, you know, when we were like joking back and forth, he's like, when you step out there, I'm just gonna boo you, and that's gonna be enough motivation for you to win the match. I'm like, yeah, fair enough.
That's where all the hate came from, the Fion call out. It was all from Jake and his trolls.
Exactly, that's where all the pent up anger. No hate, never hate. Never hate. But
that was all Adele.
No, after the seminar tour, there's we have some matches that may hopefully happen. Unfortunately I can't say anything because until I put a pen to paper, I can't say anything, but I can keep everybody guessing about what it's going to be. All I can tell you is that it's going to be hopefully a few really awesome matches in some really cool locations against some amazing competitors. So yeah, we're continuing the theme of making history, and that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to make history, and we're not done yet. You know, the year is a few more months that's still in this year, and we can continue to make some more history.
And then what about for you, Jake? So you've now coached your first athlete to ADCC titles. So people are kicking your door down. Like, what does it look like from your perspective as this coach who's like, you know, driven Adele to this spot? Let's just say that. Whatever. Who cares, right? Like, how does it look for you now?
To be fair, man, I'm kind of just waiting for Adele. I think it'd be silly at this point to transition off so quickly in terms of try and build another one up or get someone there when like Adele's so young and like we work so well together. You know, we had a conversation the day after ADCC on what she wants to achieve, and you know, then I just told her I had to have a sit back and see if like I want to be with that too, because it's going to take a lot, and then I do, and she knows that. So at the moment, it's just really waiting for her to lock in what she wants to do. But I'm on her ass every day, like lock something in because we need to prepare. You know what I mean? Like we don't sit here and go, oh, she's not going to fight so and so for a little while. We can just chill. No, like if she knows that if I'm coaching her, then we're on the ball all the time. I've said this before. I don't know if I want to actually coach another athlete like I do Adele. It's a lot. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it's a two-way street. And you don't always get that with athletes, and I know that because I am an athlete. Which is unfortunate, but yeah, I just feel like we've still got so much to achieve together. You know, there'll be a time when she outgrows me and probably doesn't need me, and I'll still be there as her friend and supporting her and loving her. But right now, she definitely needs me, so I'll do what I can to help her out.
I think that's a really nice way for a coach to be. And I think that happens in life too, right? Like you give as much as you can, and then ideally that student goes past you at some stage and they get their own area and then they continue to grow from there. And I think if people could be like that in the world, there'd be a lot less bullshit going on, you know? Like
Yeah, I
this is
am.
sometimes what happens. We outgrow each other and to wish somebody the best and continue on and be there and love them and still be their friend, like takes a serious person to be able to say that and do that. So that's great.
Yeah, I wasn't always like that though, and that's why I think it's very comfortable for me to say that, because there was a time where like uh I wasn't jealous of Adele, but I was like, she got a lot of attention, and I was like, I've done a lot too. Like, why aren't I getting this attention? And you know, sometimes in the way I coached her was just not the right way, and I know that. I've owned up to that to her, and I think one of the biggest things of
Yeah.
me coaching her now is I don't care about any of the accolades for myself, or I don't want any of the attention. To be fair, Adele and her management and Nev are the ones pushing me to do more and try and use, you know, the ADCC coach and stuff for my own marketing and stuff. If you saw the text messages, I was completely against it because she won ADCC. I know this. Yeah. And of course I
Yeah.
helped, sure. But she won. She's the
Yeah.
champ. I know that. And I have
Yeah.
nothing in my heart that says anything different, you know? But there was a time when she was winning shit. And I was like, I could do that, or I could have done that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it really took me looking into myself to turn away from that to strengthen our relationship. And now I have none of that. You know what I mean? I want
Yeah.
her to get everything all the time. You know what I mean? And then when she does, whether I get any or not, doesn't bother me, mate.
I think that like we were talking about trust before, and I think that was a big part of trust where there is parts of me and Jake's like friendship relationship, coach relationship that has changed through the years, and like our relationship has gone through its ups and downs, and nobody else has really seen it or understood it or knows much about what actually like happened over the years. But that's why communication is really important for us, and like that trust is really important for us because we navigated through some trickier parts in our relationship and got to the other side of that, and now we're better off, and we're
Yeah.
clearly communicating quite well and clearly getting the results that we wanted at the start, but just weren't in the same position that we are now. That now we can actually realistically get those results.
That's the coolness of like a proper relationship though, right? Like whether it's a coach, student, or a, partner, like that's the best form of a relationship that you can have.
100%. Yeah, I think it's really important. I think that every relationship is built on communication, and whether that be a partner relationship, whether that be a coach student relationship, it's just all about communication and being honest. And sometimes that's some tricky conversations, and me and Jake have had some tricky conversations. We've had some uncomfortable conversations before, but I think we came off better because of it.
Yeah.
A question for both of you. I guess majority of our listeners are hobbyists. You guys are both professionals who, have the ability to spend many, many hours a day, studying jiu-jitsu, doing jiu-jitsu. Have you got any advice for our listeners who want to get the most out of their jiu-jitsu training, who might only be able to train a couple of times a week, a couple of hours in total, to really maximize their jiu-jitsu and to grow and improve? Both as a competitor and as a coach, for both of you to answer that.
Well, I can give my 2 cents on this, but I know that Jake's going to have quite a good, well thought out perspective, because I know that part of his role in his jiu-jitsu and in his coaching role is that he does mentor programs, and he actually plans out people's training regimes, and whether that be like myself or whether that be someone that's more hobbyist, he's very good at optimizing people's time on the mats. So I know that he'll have some really key information about this. I think for me, it's just use the time that you have. Like if you're only on the mats for a certain period of time because of your other commitments, it's about like quality over quantity. So make sure that you're being specific with what you're doing, not just kind of phoning it in. Sometimes it just depends what you want to get when you're on the training mats. If you're a hobbyist and are just doing it for enjoyment, then that's okay. Use it as a period of time to switch off. But if you do want to like increase your skill development, then it's make sure you have a plan, like you're getting on the mats with something that you're actually thinking about rather than just mindlessly running through hoping that you're naturally going to get better. It's like any kind of skill development. You don't go into school without a laptop and without a notepad and just hope that you retain the knowledge. You go in there with a laptop, you write your notes, you go home, you study your notes. It's skill development. It's like everything else.
Yeah,
Jake.
I love listening to her talk because she sounds like me. I've brainwashed her into sounding like me. She's spot on. You know, quality over quantity is so huge. Having a goal when you come to training, I think, priorities, right? So, like, my daughter, jiu-jitsu is not my priority. My daughter is my priority. So, if something comes up and it's with Ava, then I'm going to go do that. If your priority or one of your priorities in life is jiu-jitsu, then the session that you make has to be the highest quality session you can make. So that means rocking up on time. That means listening to when the technique's being instructed, asking questions, getting your rounds in, reviewing everything, and going home. If you can only do that twice a week, I guarantee you're getting better than the person that trains 10 times a week that isn't doing that. So that it's a massive thing, right? Because a lot of the times we lose focus, especially if we've got other things going on, our job, our family, whatever. So you need to, for yourself, be like, this is my time to get better. Because the difference for me between a hobbyist and a professional, besides if they get paid, is their mindset. It's not the skill set. Because I have black belts that are hobbyists that could beat a lot of professional black belts. But that's not their priority. Their priority is to come in and just do jiu-jitsu. So don't look at like the mat time as the indicator of whether you're having a professional career or a hobbyist career. Look at the way your mindset is, and if you are doing everything you possibly can to make sure that it's at the highest quality it can be. And the other part of that is very similar to Adele's success, is surround yourself with the best people, right? Atos is only the best training room for Adele because of the relationship she's created in that room. If she went there and it was hostile, it does not matter what logo is on the door or who is coaching, that is not a good training room for her. So if you're in a training room where you don't even want to go, you are not going to get better. You need to be in an environment that you like being there, you enjoy being there, you enjoy the people, and you have a relationship with the coach or the whoever's coaching there. I think it's so important. And I tell my students all the time, and business wise, it's not the best, but it's not what I do jiu-jitsu for. You need to make sure that you're enjoying what you're doing. Yeah, because even Adele, she's just achieved the biggest thing in the sport, right? She cannot retire. She can't. She's not on a $250 million contract. So if she's not enjoying what she's doing, regardless of the result, why is she doing it? Go and do something else that will set you up in the future, money-wise, etc. But she loves it, so she's able to do it. And she's put people in her life that foster that environment for her. You know what I mean? And I'm not always saying everything's sunshines and lollipops. Trust me. There's people in her life that'll tell her completely different, and that's how it has to be. But what I'm saying is the people in there you need to be able to trust, and you need to be able to enjoy their time as well as they're enjoying your time. It's super, super important. And a lot of people don't understand it. They think, doing 10 rounds a day is going to get you better at jiu-jitsu. And I can guarantee you that this does not happen.
I think everyone should pause this and then skip back 4 minutes and then listen to that about 3 more times. Like, it's really good. It's really good. And it's such clear advice, Jake.
I mean, it's something like I'm like, I do this all the time. Like, Adele knows if she pushes a button, I'll rant for hours because I'm just super passionate and I'm obsessed about this sport and what it does. I believe my purpose in jiu-jitsu, and I actually think it changed on the weekend, to be fair, but my purpose before this was I believed I was put here to help people with their mental health, with their well-being through jiu-jitsu. And that's what I thought that I was here to do. Now I think I can actually have a bigger reach. And I think Adele's unlocked that door for me. And I think the way I portray myself has unlocked that door for me. And I think the jiu-jitsu community is too small for the impact that I can have on people. And I'm not talking about winning titles. I'm talking about helping them as people and making them feel better, and have better lives through interactions or through the way I speak to them or whatever it is. It could be little. It could be a smile. I don't know. It could be anything. But again, I think that's so much more important. The biggest compliment that I got from ADCC was every time someone spoke to me about Adele was about how good of a person she is. not about she was incredible, she did this, she did that. Yeah, it's great. I love it too. But he's a good person, and that's way more
Yeah.
important to me because I've aligned myself with a person who is a good person, who is a good role model for my daughter, who is a good role model for my students, who's a good role model for myself, and she happens to be okay at jiu-jitsu. Like it works out.
So here's a little story for you, right? Like years ago, and it was probably 2018 or 2019. I think it was at the gathering. I've told Adele this before. So I was at the gathering with my wife. We were walking around, and we saw this lady refereeing a match, and she just had this smile on her face. She was wandering around, keeping an eye on things, looking around. And then we're like, she's enjoying what's happening. Like she's focusing on the match as referees really do, right? So she's enjoying the match, and then 15, 20 minutes later, we're like, that's the referee, and she's competing, and then she's just belted whoever it was, comes up smiling, helps her out, and we're like, this is Adele. Okay, we've got to remember this name. And I've said to Adele, like, you were my first jiu-jitsu crush, right? The first person who I'm like, this person is so invested in jiu-jitsu. Like, I love her energy. And then, like, getting to know Adele a little bit and trained under Adele, enrolled with Adele. Like, mate, everything you just said, Jake, is absolutely true. Like, such a wonderful person. But I remember noticing that the first time my wife pointed it out first, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm on the back of this train. Like she's such a nice person. So to achieve what you have in the last 5 years is phenomenal. But I think this being a nice person, it's definitely an underlying part for sure. It's been there forever, right?
I appreciate all the kind words. I do think like the accolade's cool. Yes, I do love having a big shiny belt in my room. That's pretty cool. But there's more important things in life. Like this, like all the accolades and all those kind of things. They have a shelf life. They're done and the event's done, and then we move past it. I want to make sure that I can spread positivity and enjoyment from a sport that I get so much enjoyment myself out of. And that's why I do it more importantly than getting shiny things after a competition. I just genuinely enjoy what I'm doing, and I want to continue doing it as long as I enjoy it. I don't think that um, I don't want to do it just because I feel like I have nothing else or can't think of anything else to do. I can think of a million things I want to do with my life, but I want to do this. I want to
Yeah.
compete. I want to train. I want to share my knowledge with whoever will listen. I want to make connections with people around the world that also have a love of the sport that I have love with, and be a part of that community. And that to me is what's more important than anything.
On the back of Kim's question, so which was kind of for the amateur, people like me who are rocking up and doing the best they can, training on the mats as often as they can, or whenever they can. What about some advice for somebody who wants to aim towards being a professional? Like, what sorts of things should they be doing? I know Adele, and I want you to speak a little bit later, if you can, about the role that Nev's played with you too, because we talk about your team. And I've heard you speak about Nev, and the way you speak is beautiful. But what about as somebody who wants to become a professional athlete? What advice are you going to give that person?
I think it's more like there are obviously some nuances to it, but I think it's more simple than most people think. It's behave like a professional. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are people from multi-million-dollar sports that have done it before us. They go about it in a particular way. They are focused on what they're trying to do. They're looking after themselves. They are treating themselves like a professional, and the results then come. I think that that's the main thing. Be a professional. You don't see, you don't see Ronaldo rocking up late for training. You don't see Messi, slacking off and not running laps when everybody else is doing it. Like these guys are in the gym before anybody else is. They're ready for everything. They do everything that needs to be done. They go to the physio. They do the strength and conditioning programs. They do the rehabilitation so that they can actually have longevity in the sport. Like there is no need to reinvent the wheel. I think that a lot of like fads will come out and a lot of like trendy stuff will come out about train like this or do this or eat this, but I I just think it's it's a whole range of things that so many people are doing very well before us that we just need to listen to what's going on. There's no cheat code to it. Just do the hard work and you'll get the results.
Jake, what would you say to that?
Oh, I could go on for hours about this. I think one of the biggest things is like, so when Adele talks about being a professional, we always talk about a professional athlete, right? But what about a professional coach? How is she supposed to act like a professional if I don't act like a professional? And I think that's a huge issue we have in jiu-jitsu, right? I'm not blaming the coaches because I own my own business. I own my own gym. I have 150 students. I understand you can't do it with everybody. But if there are people that want to achieve certain things and they're going to give back to you what you give to them, you cannot be lazy about it. You need to put in more work than what you would do for a hobbyist student. Okay. Like I can't just rock up and show one technique. I have to be involved in absolutely everything and making those decisions. You know what I mean? Head coaches all over the world do this. You know, we break it down even further. Your top superstars in the world have personal coaches. LeBron James has a personal coach. Steph Curry has a personal coach. Messi has a personal coach. Djokovic has a personal coach. Like it goes on and on and on. Like invest in yourself. I get this all the time. People be like, "Oh, Jake, can you please watch this footage and break this down for me and whatnot?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, man, this is the price." "Oh, what do you mean? I got to pay for it?" "Yeah, because that's my job." Like
Yeah.
Adele pays me, so why would you not pay me? That makes no sense. And the amount of effort I'm going to put in to go through that footage costs me money and time. But these people will buy a brand new gi or buy brand new rashies or spend $200 on supplements. And it's like, that's all great, but it's not making you great. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I find that has worked, like I said, with Adele, you know, if she goes, "Oh, hey, I need this, this, and this." So take, for example, ADCC. She's like, "I need you there." And I was like, "Cool, I can't afford it. Like, I want to be there, but I can't." She's like, "Cool, I'll cover it."
Yeah.
You know, that cost her X amount of money, but she knew that was an investment for herself. 2 years ago, we couldn't afford that. But then we made sure that when ADCC, well, not me, she made sure that when ADCC came around this time, she had the money or she'd figure out how to get the money to do that. You know what I mean? And it's so important that it's a two-way street on professionalism, not one. Yeah. So the athletes that want to become professionals, find a coach. We have this like loyalty thing in jiu-jitsu. "Oh, I can't train with someone else, or I can't." You know, see any pictures of Adele and see where where my logo is on her rashi. It's not,
Done.
and I've never complained about it because I don't care. I care about her. You know what I mean? It's not about me. It's about her. And if your coach from your gym he gets upset at you because you want someone that is a professional helping you, then you're probably in the wrong spot. You know what I mean? Tim Grover was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's coach, but they play for the Bulls and the Lakers. They won championships for the Bulls and the Lakers. Tim Grover's name's not on that banner, but without Tim Grover, you don't get MJ and Kobe. You know what I mean? So like, there's so much of this like political drama and crap. With Adele and I, it's black and white. Yeah, there's no Atos, there's no dominance, there's no, you know, people have been asking me, "Oh, did Gaval step on your toes? Did he do that?" No, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm here to help her. And that's it. You know what I mean? So I think with an athlete, my advice if you want to be a professional athlete, do exactly what Adele said. Do what you're supposed to do. Hard work is the bare minimum. Eating properly is the bare minimum. Lifting is the bare minimum. That's your job. Go and do it. The extras, figure it out. You can't afford it? Figure it out. You come to me and you want me to coach you and you're like, "Jake, I can't pay you, but I'll clean the gym every day. You know, I'll lock the gym up every night. I'll, you know, blah, blah, blah." I'll probably say yes because that helps me and it saves me time and money. You know what I mean? Like, figure it out because I figured it out. I worked multiple jobs and had a kid. Adele figured it out because she's 25 years old and lives off jiu-jitsu. So you can do it. But I think our mindset is one of the turning factors in the decisions. You know what I mean? The last time Adele spent $300 on a dinner, she probably couldn't tell you. Yeah. But I know the last time she paid me $300, you know what I mean? Like, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
Comes
It's
down
awesome.
to priority.
Mm-hmm. Massively.
And Adele, just on the back of Brent's other question about your partner, about Nev, and how that relationship helped you through the ADCC camp.
Oh, we talk
Nev's
about
my
things that Jake's
Nev's my second
that
favorite
Jake.
lesbian, by the way.
Yeah, she's above me on the list, man.
Adele's number 3.
I'm number 3. Nev's number 2, and then Jake can tell you who number 1 is.
Yeah. So Rafael Guedes is
But
number 1. We all agree on that.
Yeah, Rafael is number 1 for sure, 100%.
We all agree on that.
Yeah, I can't even argue that. Like, Jake can tell you things that he will be able to talk endlessly about, that he's passionate about, and like talking about Nev is something that I can endlessly talk about and talk passionately about it. No, she had a massive part to play in all the success. Like, I could speak endlessly about all the ways that she's helped me as an athlete. But most importantly, like, she makes me genuinely happy and is nothing but supportive through my entire career, even when there were so many unanswered questions about what was actually going to happen, about, what the success of my career was going to look like, financially or, accolade wise. There was no guarantee. Jiu-jitsu is one of those sports where there is absolutely no guarantee, and in fact it swings more towards the side of never going to be able to make money and never going to be able to make it a viable career path. Like, there is just not a large proportion of people that can survive off jiu-jitsu alone without opening up a gym or having another means to earn an income. So, but there was never a debate about it. There was never a question about it. It was, what makes you happy? Okay, go do that. And how can I help you do that? And I think that's one of the main things that kind of allowed me to have the self-belief that I did and commit as much as I did into my own career as an athlete. Is that I was surrounded by people that would back me and trusted in me and, pushed me and motivated me. So Nev, when we first started seeing each other, she didn't do jiu-jitsu. She had no idea what it was. And it took a solid year for me to convince her that it wasn't as scary as it looked. And that, it wasn't as gross as it looked, because you're sweating on each other and it's, So I started rolling with her, and then me and one other person started rolling with her, and then me and 2 other people and 3 other people. And that kind of grew and grew until she was confident enough to be training herself and training with all the training partners. And now she's more obsessed than I am. She should be able to tell you more statistics on the jiu-jitsu scene, male, female, heavyweight, lightweight, whatever it's going to be. She'll be able to tell you more statistics than I will about what matches happened when and what sequences happened in those matches. She does tape studies. She, will be in bed at 10 o'clock at night, and then her brain will just be running, and then she'll go, okay, so when you're in this side control position, and, they weave their arm underneath. I'm like, babe, come, like, I need to sleep. Like, I've been doing jiu-jitsu all day. Like, we need to switch it off for a second.
Then she's mimicking it in bed. You're like, you're not cuddling me, are you? You're running the system.
Like, when you put your arm under this way, I'm like, oh, come on. But no, I think it's so important to surround yourself with people that believe in you. Because there will be times through your training or your competition or whatever it will be, where you do, like, that self-doubt does creep in. And if you can't get it intrinsically, if you can't get it from yourself, then you need to make sure that you're surrounded by people that will reaffirm that for you, so they can kind of jumpstart that self-belief again.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Awesome. Did you have any other questions, Brentos? I think we're nearly out of time. Or
I've got one sort of last question, actually, yeah. Well, I've got 1,000, but I'll stick to one. So, Adele, a few weeks ago, a month ago or whatever, I competed in the Australian Championships, had 3 matches. They all went the distance, one on, a couple of points and an advantage or whatever. And then you go to ADC, you do 4 matches over a couple of days, and then you do the Absolute and you smash that out of the park as well. So my question is this: going out all night after that, partying, going to the after party, is that like the best recovery? Is that what I should be doing after a competition? Do you recommend that, or is there something else we should be doing?
Oh God, I was ready to go to bed, but it wasn't even me that made us go out that night. It was everybody else.
She's lying.
It was Jake.
She's lying. No way.
Jake made me do it.
No way.
He dragged me kicking and screaming to the after party and made me dance.
That is such a lie.
Oh man, like the first ADCC I did, I didn't go to the after party. Well, obviously we weren't celebrating as much in the first ADCC, but I was also just way too tired after, 2 12-hour days.
Yeah.
But I couldn't miss this one. It was
Yeah.
too much fun. Too many too many of my friends were there, and we wanted to have a fun night and a night to remember. But maybe that's the key to glory. It's compete and then go out until 4 a.m. in the morning. And then every time you compete, that needs to be the stock standard.
Got you. All right, lock it in.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for giving up your time. Jake, thank you especially for helping coordinate Adele. She's a very, very busy woman, and we're very grateful for the help that you provided for both of you for giving up this time for us. As I said, you are our most repeat guest now, Adele. And I actually feel quite chuffed that, when your first episode with us, you were, dare I say it, like fairly unknown. And I don't think there's too many people in the jiu-jitsu world that don't know the name Adele Fornarino anymore. So thank you so much for not just this time, but for all that you've done for jiu-jitsu in Australia. You've really been amazing. So Brentos, do you want to do the wrap up? You're very good at doing this now.
Thanks.
I've given this over to you.
Yeah, it's been awesome having you, Jake, on, and Adele, obviously. Thanks, Ken. One little favor. If I could ask everybody, Adele has got her seminar tour coming up. She'll be posting dates. You can find those on Instagram and all those sorts of things. Could you please share those sorts of things? It's something for me at the moment that I find really important. Right throughout the jiu-jitsu community, I think we sort of sit there on the show and go, hey guys, could you please like, rate and share what we're doing? We love it when you comment. That helps us get more people and get to different audiences and all those sorts of things. But I also think it's really important that we share fellow athletes' stories, and if they're doing promo stuff, fellow gym owners, all of those sorts of things. It's not my little community. We can make this as big as we can make it. So throughout, Adele's few months coming up, the journey that you're going to be on, Adele, is going to be fantastic. But I think for all of our listeners, if you really want to support Adele and buy tickets to the seminars, it's the first thing, but also share the post, make sure you like it, make sure you leave a comment, because those things help all of us throughout the community. So that's the first thing I'd say. And then obviously, Jake, if you've got stuff that, you would like us to promote or anything along those lines, man, we're super happy to do that. We enjoy having you on. We like people who have good quality opinions and feedback and talk with passion. I think for me, people who talk passionately about something, I could listen to them for hours. So you've got that spades, mate. So you're, always welcome to come back on too. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Any other thoughts from both of you guys, and then I'll finish it up.
No, I just appreciate the shout out, and I something that I'm very passionate about at the moment. I can tell you're passionate about it too. Is supporting the athletes, and specifically like the local athletes. I think is really important. No, I appreciate you having that call to action for everybody out there that can support. It goes a long way. It allows us to do what we do. It's important for us to be able to travel, to be able to, share our knowledge, yes, but to be able to get to competitions and things like that, and things like seminars is what makes that possible.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. And, you thank us for our time. Thank you for your time. Anytime we get to share our message or get to try and inspire someone or whatnot, like, we really do appreciate it. We definitely don't take it for granted. So really thank you guys for having us.
It's awesome. Thanks for coming on, guys. Great to have another Roll or Die episode coming out. We appreciate you guys all listening. And we had the fucking champ on. Woo! See you guys.
Gotcha.
See ya, bye.